What up guys, and welcome to today's video. So today's video is going to be a bit weird, and the reason being is because it's going to be a recording of the live stream that I did yesterday. So for those of you that don't know, I have a Facebook group, the link will be in the description, that you can join, and every single week I do a live stream. Now this Facebook group is normally targeted towards self-improvement and philosophy of success, but yesterday I decided to do a talk about my journey into software, and it starts all the way from when I was in high school, and it goes all the way until I actually got my job in Silicon Valley. So if you guys are looking for a story or some inspiration, I think you could really learn from my story. I wasn't super smart or anything like that. I really started from the bottom and I worked my way there. So without further ado, here is a live stream, and I apologize in advance for the quality. I was filming it on my laptop's camera instead of my phone camera, which I'm using to record this video. So enjoy. I went to William Lyon Mackenzie, and they have a program there called the MAX program. So the MAX program, it's just an abbreviation for math and computer sciences. And pretty much what it is, it's supposed to be an accelerated program. And if you're in this program, pretty much they teach you computer science starting in grade 9. And you're in a separate track from mathematics and English. And it's supposed to be like a more advanced program. So pretty much like a fast track, and it prepares you really well for like the top colleges and stuff like that. So I got accepted into that from my middle school. I was the only person I got accepted into that. And I remember in middle school, things sort of just came. You know how everyone, at some point in time, I'm sure you can relate. Things just came sort of easy for you, whether you were like doing a specific activity, whether it was like a specific point in time. Middle school was that time for me, where things just sort of like came easy to me. I didn't really have to work for anything. I didn't have a concept, like I didn't understand the concept of studying, and I didn't understand the concept of like what it meant to do your homework or why any of that was important. So anyways, got into this program for high school called MAX. Went there. It was my first, I remember maybe the first 2 weeks there, I was in science class and we had a science test, first 2 weeks of class. And I remember going into that science class and sitting down to take that test. And it was on significant digits, sigdigs, like 10 to the, if you have like a big number, you put it as like 8.6 times 10 to the power of 6 instead of like 8,600,000, whatever. So I took that first test, and I remember sitting there like, wow, for the first time, like I actually have no idea what's going on. And little did I know that was the start of like a very, very long trend that would traverse all of high school pretty much. I ended up getting maybe like a 20% on that test. The teacher pulled me aside. She was like, yeah, you're just not getting it. I don't understand what's wrong. And to me, it was sort of like really weird. It was the first time in my life where I wasn't just being able to sort of breeze through without having to do anything. Everyone around me was super trying really hard. Like they would study all the time. They cared about getting into, I guess their parents instilled it within them at a very young age that they had to get into like a top university. Like that stuff was really important. And to me, I didn't even know what university or college was. Like I didn't even know how much longer I had to go in the school system. I thought high school was it, type of thing, right? I didn't even realize there was a thing. I came from a background where, this stuff wasn't like secondhand to me type of thing, or firsthand type of thing. It was like learning a new language almost. And I realized that I wasn't going to be able to just skate by. So year after year after year goes by. And for those wondering, that's actually where I met Akshdeep, who's in the chat right now. Shout out to Akshdeep. He was probably my first and one of my only friends through grade 9 and 10. And I realized that I was sort of like the dumb kid in school. I was like the kid no one really wanted to be partnered with, because I would always like get really bad marks on all my assignments, really bad marks on all my tests. I didn't have the drive or motivation to go as far as these people did. They all had their sights set on like specific universities and specific places they wanted to be. And I just walked in there and I was like, hey, I love playing video games. Does anyone want to play? So 2 years went by. I got into grade 11, and by that time, I actually I was taking grade. So I took grade 9 programming in grade 9, and then in grade 10, I took grade 10 and 11 programming. Or no, there's no grade 10 programming. I took grade 11 programming in grade 10, and then in grade 11, I was supposed to take grade 12 programming. But I did so poorly in grade 9 and 10 programming that our teacher, she was amazing, by the way. Our teacher was like, yeah, like when I got into grade 12 programming, she was like, you should just drop this. Like, I don't think it's going to work out. You and programming just don't mix together. And I ended up dropping the course. I really was interested in it. Like, I really wanted to do programming as a job, but I was told I wasn't good at it. I didn't get good marks at it. And to me, I was like, wow, all right, maybe this is just something I'll never be able to grasp. Everyone around me was just so good at it. And I was just so bad at it. And it made me feel like there was no way I could ever possibly, like, have a career, let alone even be decent at coding. And I remember being so disappointed because it was really just something I wanted to do for such a long time. I was really passionate about games and I loved coding, so I thought the perfect thing for me to go into was game development. But by the time I dropped out of that course, it was like I abandoned that dream type of thing. So luckily, we split computer engineering and computer science into 2 different courses. So I took computer engineering, and I was pretty successful when it came to doing things like logic gates and breadboards. For those of you from Ryerson, COE 328, where you have Karnoff's graphs and stuff like that. Like, I did all that in high school, and I really liked that stuff. I was naturally good at it, therefore I liked it. I had that mindset where I should only go into something that I was naturally gifted at, or I felt like I was smarter than everyone else at. And the hardware side of things, Arduinos and stuff like that, was really what spoke to me. So I was like, okay, I'm not good enough for software engineering. I'm not good enough for computer science. Therefore, the only thing I could do is maybe computer engineering. And at the time, I thought breadboards and like all that stuff was what computer engineering was. So I decided to go into computer engineering, and in that time, what ended up happening was, because I was such a reject at my university, like, because people saw me as like the dumb kid in school, I started to see myself as that dumb kid in school. And I just assumed that I wouldn't be able to be successful if I did anything related to academia or university or anything like that. I just automatically assumed that I was too stupid to like understand mathematics or science or computer science or physics or anything like that on a complicated level. Therefore, I shouldn't even bother with it. I was just too dumb to do it. And my outlet at the time was something that I've been doing for a while, and that something was playing video games. So my whole thing was, well, if I can't be really good at like school, and I'm not going to make it in university, and I'm not going to get a cool job as a scientist or a software engineer, I'm going to get my version of success, which at that point in time was to become a professional gamer. And I was playing Starcraft at the time. And for those of you that don't know, I'm going to give you guys a nice brief overview of what Starcraft is and how it works. So Starcraft still is considered the chess of the gaming world. It's supposed to be the hardest professional esport that there is. Starcraft 2. It's supposed to be considered the hardest esport that there is. And one of my friends, Tony, got me interested in it. Tony and Mavar. So I got super interested in StarCraft, and the way it works is there is a league system, just like in League of Legends. I'm sure a lot of you have played League of Legends. It goes bronze, which is the worst, then silver, gold, platinum, and then diamond, Masters League, and then Grandmasters League. For those of you that know League of Legends, Grandmasters League is like the top level thing. It's like Challenger in League of Legends. Only the top 200 people in any league, in any server, so whether it's North America, Europe, or Korea, got into Grandmaster League. And I said, I want to be Grandmaster. And, you know, I told all my friends, and they're like, you must be, like, shitting me. Like, Grandmaster, you can only be Grandmaster if you're, like, one of those hardcore, play 16-hour-a-day, you know, Korean kids or Korean professionals. Grandmaster is, like, way too good. It's like being Grandmaster in chess almost type of thing, right? So I picked that up in grade 11. By grade 12, my grades were tanking. I was sure that I didn't have a career I didn't have a path in university or college or anything like that. So I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get really good at StarCraft. I'm going to work at McDonald's for a year to make enough money to buy a plane ticket to Korea. And once I was in Korea, hopefully the amount of money I saved while working at McDonald's would have been enough to, you know, pay like 4 or 5 months rent in Korea. And then hopefully by then I had my professional gaming debut, and I was starting to win, you know, prize money and stuff like that. It sounds crazy, but if I did not get into Ryerson, and I got into Ryerson, and I stayed into Ryerson, I got a conditional offer from Ryerson, and I had I barely kept my offer from Ryerson. My goal, my plan was, if I didn't keep my offer from Ryerson by keeping a 75 average, that was legitimately my plan. I was gonna work at a minimum wage job, save up enough money, and go move to Korea and become a professional gamer. Like, do or die situation. That's it. That's all. Luckily at the time I kept my Ryerson offer, and I ended up going to Ryerson. But when I went to Ryerson, I realized two things. Number one, I still really wanted to be a professional gamer. And my first year of Ryerson, you can ask Nathan in the comments. He's here in the comments. My first year of Ryerson, for the first semester, I didn't show up for 2 months. I was not on campus for 2 months. I got him to write my lab report, to go in there and write my quizzes, or I would just take L's on the quizzes that, you know, the TAs were really strict about. And I actually almost ended up failing. And I realized computer engineering is not what I thought it was. I thought you would get in there, make cool shit with Arduinos and Raspberry Pis. It would be hands-on electronics, robotics, and shit like that. Turns out it was nothing like that, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And that's around the time where it's like, all right, I'm prepared to drop out if I have to and just kill it in gaming. Move to Korea, pursue that plan. And that's literally what I did. I would play StarCraft. I set a goal for myself. My goal was to hit Grandmaster in StarCraft, and that's a pretty big goal. That's like the equivalent of getting a job at Google in terms of StarCraft. And it became my life. It took over my life. I almost dropped out because of it. It got to the point where I had wrist injuries because I was playing too much. I had to go to the doctor. I had to wear wrist braces to sleep every single night. And it just became my life. I would wake up. I wouldn't eat anything. I was super skinny at the time. I'm still sort of skinny. I would wake up, I wouldn't eat anything, and I would just sit there and I would play video games for 10 hours a day. 10 hours a day, I would play video games. Maybe if I had to, write a lab report, talk to some people at school, make sure someone was doing the lab, was my lab partner, et cetera, et cetera. And I became absolutely, obsessed with it. It was so unhealthy. I wasn't eating. I wasn't doing any physical activity. I wasn't going to school. I wasn't talking to anyone. I would just wake up 10 to 16 hours a day and just play. My wrists were completely decimated. I was failing my courses, and it was bad. And I somehow managed to just hang in there and make it through first year and not drop out, and my GPA was a complete dump. That's around the time when, for those of you that haven't heard, my friend, who's the same age as me, one of my friends that graduated with me from computer engineering, from the maths program at Mackenzie, my high school, he actually dropped out because he got a job offer from Google. And that's where everything sort of changed for me. When I saw that he dropped out to get a job from Google, that was like the world telling me that, listen, I don't have to walk in the same lane as all these people that went to Ryerson. I don't have to walk in the same lane that all these people that I went to high school with that say you need a great GPA to get into a great university, and only from a great university can you get a great job. That's where I sort of realized that you choose to forge your own path in life. And that was probably, I didn't realize it at the time, but the most eye-opening experience I've ever had in my life. time went on, another year passed, and by that time I was getting really good at StarCraft. I was bordering the Grandmaster level, and I was running the Ryerson team, and we ended up winning like a lot of money because we ended up winning the Collegiate Star League, which is like Ryerson, the North America's like university competition for StarCraft. We started to win that. I was the captain of it. I started traveling to different places. I went to Detroit. We had some tournaments in Toronto. I started traveling in different places and competing in local tournaments and stuff. I was in the semi-pro scene. People started to know who I was. I was getting big in the StarCraft scene. I was starting to beat pros. I was starting to face pros, beat them semi-consistently, and things were going really well in StarCraft. At that time, I was still super, super into it. I upped from playing 10 hours today. To 16 hours a day, and I just got super serious with it. And it happened right when I started first year. I hit my goal. 16 hours a day, 4 years every single day. I hit Grandmaster League, and I became top 200 at the hardest esport in the world in all of North America. And that to me was like a huge load off my shoulders. That to me was like the thing that like the biggest thing I've ever achieved in my life. That showed me that no matter what it was, if I put enough hard work and dedication in and I stuck to it and I made it my life, I could achieve it. Because when I told people when I first started playing StarCraft that I was going to hit Grandmaster, I told maybe 40 people, and 0 people thought it was possible for me to ever hit that level. 0 people. And I came, and I did it, and I dedicated myself, and it was tough. It was hard. I was dropping out. My parents, I had so many disagreements with my parents because all I would do was, or I was living with just my mom at the time, all I would do was sit there and play video games, and I finally did it. And I finally hit Grandmasters League, and, you know, to me, it was the biggest deal in the world. I tell people, you know, when I went to California, I would tell people about StarCraft, blah, blah, blah. No one truly grasped how great of an achievement it was. But to me, it meant the world. And to me, that showed me that it doesn't matter if I wasn't as good as anyone in high school, if I got my ass kicked by kids in high school that used to play it. It doesn't matter if, like, people would tell me that I couldn't do it. All that mattered was I believed I can do it. I put my mind to it. I practiced as much as possible, and I was dedicated. I was completely dedicated. I would not quit until I hit that threshold. And it was just such a big turning point in my life, because right after I hit Grandmaster in StarCraft, I hit my goal. I was like, wow, I have the potential. Me, someone who was looked at as like the dumbest kid in high school, I have the potential to be one of the best at the world at something. What else can I do this with? And I took that attitude and I was like, all right, why don't I do what my friend did and get a job in Silicon Valley before I graduate and prove to myself that in that, you know, in a short amount of time, I could go from someone who dropped programming in high school because he was told he was too stupid to take it to someone who could get a job in the highest level place possible. 8 months later, I got my job in the Valley. 8 months later, after quitting StarCraft and dedicating all my time, just like I was doing for StarCraft, dedicating all my time to programming and proving to myself I could do it. And I think honestly, a lot of people, when I tell the story, a lot of people say that I wasted 4 years playing StarCraft. Like, they're like, oh, imagine if you spent those 4 years programming instead or doing something else instead. And they don't understand that the confidence I have, the ability to see that I was able to do something and put it into real actions and actually achieve it, the faith I have in myself all came because I got good at something that no one said I would be able to. I had that goal, and I had the faith in myself and the perseverance to go and get that goal. And I knew if I could do it with that one endeavor, then I could go and I could do it with anything else I put my mind to. And that is an attitude that I still have with me today. I knew that I could quit my job in the Valley, for example, and I had enough faith in myself that I would be able to make a sustainable income and, you know, have one of my businesses blow up exponentially that, no one would believe that I would be able to do. So I think reflecting at the time, I didn't realize how many different things were at play here, how many different, mindset factors were at play here. And it's only, rather recently I'm starting to realize that I did so many things right while I was playing StarCraft. Number one, I got obsessed with it. If you want to achieve something, you have to make it the sole thing that you think about, something that you always see, something you on a subconscious level. It's always there. It's the thing you're constantly working towards. It's what Napoleon Hill calls a definite major purpose. You have to have a clear and concrete goal, and you have to be able to visualize it. In StarCraft, when you hit Grandmaster League, what happens is a promotion screen pops up. And that promotion screen is something that I've seen in screenshots before. And I would dream about that every single night. I would go to bed, and while I was sleeping, I would dream about me playing a game, finishing a game, and having that promotion screen pop up. You have to be able to visualize exactly what it is that you want. You have to see it in clear-cut, high-definition visualization, and you have to want it. You have to constantly run that image in your mind over and over again. For 4 years, I had that image in my mind, and because of that, I acted in a way that I wouldn't sleep, I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't focus on anything else until I achieved that one thing. And it was the same thing for programming. And it's going to be the exact same thing for entrepreneurship and multi-million-dollar businesses, which is my current goal. And that's such a powerful tool. And I naturally developed that while I was playing StarCraft. It's insanely powerful to have that. A lot of people say to themselves, well, I want to be a professional this, or I want to get a great job that, or I want to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But they don't visualize it. They don't run it past themselves until it becomes an obsession, until it becomes their sole desire. The reason it needs to become a sole desire is because when you're constantly thinking of it, your subconscious is also thinking about it, and it's in the works of finding different ways and finding different opportunities that you wouldn't see naturally to go and get that goal. It's just such a powerful tool to be so obsessed with what you're trying to achieve. And don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean obsessed to the point where you're doing what I did in StarCraft, where you're unhealthy, you're stressed all the time, you're hating your life. That's not the obsessed I'm talking about. I'm talking about a healthy version of obsessed, where you know your limits, you know what you need to do to de-stress, you have habits in your life to relax, and you know what you need to step back, keep yourself healthy. That way you're not going into burnout. That's how people end up in burnout, when they just get obsessed with something to the point where they just want to work at it 16 hours a day and don't give themselves time for relaxation or any recreation or something to keep their mind off of what they're doing. It's very important to know what relaxes you, what recharges you, and make sure you incorporate that into your schedule. And if I did that instead of working 16 hours a day when I was playing StarCraft, I could have probably hit Grandmaster in StarCraft maybe in 2 or 3 years instead of in 4 years. But I thought it was all about just grinding it out. And that's definitely the wrong way to go about it. You want to be obsessed, but not obsessed to the point where you're sacrificing your mental health and the things that work for you, the things that recharge you, like spending time with your family, or physical exercise, or eating healthily, or watching your favorite TV show. It's all about finding that balance. And once you find that balance, if you're obsessed with it enough, the perseverance, the hard work, and finding opportunity and conquering your fears and putting yourself out there, all of that will take care of itself. It's all about putting yourself out there. But yeah, it just goes to show, like, a lot of people that come to my Valley Talks, for example, a lot of people that I tell this story, or the story about me getting into the Valley, they'll say something like, "Wow, you're just like a genius, dude. You're just really good at coding," or, "Oh man, I wish I was as good at coding as you were." And it's really not the case. I'm not a genius by any means. I'm not super naturally good at coding. Like when I first started coding, in fact, I was the opposite. I was terrible at coding. When I first started Starcraft, all of my friends got placed into Gold League, which is like the middle. I went straight to the bottom. I was bronze. I was at the bottom of the player base. I was the worst of the worst. Same thing with coding. I wasn't naturally gifted. I'm not naturally smart at anything. But I made it a burning desire. I had a clear-cut visualization of what it was that I was trying to achieve, and I was super perseverant at it. And to this day, it stays with me. And if I had the chance to take it back and get better marks in in high school, and go to a different university and pursue a different major and maybe get a job earlier in my life, I wouldn't do it, because through all that adversity and all that struggle, I learned the vital skill that I needed to really push myself up there. And I'm going to take that with me everywhere I go in my life. And it's going to be there, and it's going to be something that I'll never lose throughout my entire life. And yeah, it's really something powerful. So I encourage you guys, if I could do something like that from being the dumb high school kid that no one wanted to talk to, no one wanted to be a group in, and no one thought would ever achieve anything, if I could do it, then every single person watching this live stream or watching this YouTube video can definitely do it as well. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that story. We are going to be going back to our regularly scheduled videos starting tomorrow. Expect some interview prep questions, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.